Hi guys, this is Lalana. Thanks for tuning into The Sovereign Path. So today we're going to talk about one of those subjects that I guess is pretty touchy on the Twin Flame Path for sure. I think it's one of those topics that, especially at the beginning of this path, even midway through the path for, I'd say, most divine feminines who are finding themselves in the throes of awakening and all of these things. And that is that this path is not about the physical twin. And it's not about the physical romantic aspect with the twin either. So the romantic aspect of this connection, you know, hot and heavy in the beginning and all of that sort of stuff, and anybody who's on this path knows that quickly sort of fades out. And what I've been saying about this journey for a long time now is that the physical union with the twin that is lasting and potentially more in that romantic aspect is the icing on the cake. But it's not the cake. And I know a lot of people don't like when I say that. A lot of people don't like it when I say that. And I totally get it. I've been where you guys are, and I totally understand that. And because I've been where you guys are, and I totally understand it, it's important that because of that reason, that anyone, any coach or mentor and guide who is a twin flame and who's doing this sort of work is very transparent in regard to what this path actually is and who your physical twin actually is as well in regard to you. So as I've said 100 times, and I'll continue to say it, this is an ascension path. It's an awakening path. It's an alchemical process of coming back to the self, of coming out of the matrix 3D separation consciousness, coming out of all the program, coming out of seeing yourself as separate from everything else, coming out of the wounds, the imprints, you know, the karmic situations, the patterning, the constant mind chitter chatter, all of those things that are constructs of the third dimensional reality, and coming back into self, right? Back into oneness, back into unity consciousness, where there is no separation, where there is no, you know, duality, where there is no polarization, where there is oneness, where there is peace, you know, where there is the true meaning of love. Not love in the way that the 3D represents it as me and you, you and her and him, however it works in this sort of, you know, ego battle, inner child wound battle. Things haven't been healed and this or that or the other, and so we're sort of bringing that baggage to the table in an unconscious way and playing those patterns and programs out with the romantic partner. Twin flames are here to break that template. They are completely here to break that template and to shift back into the fifth dimensional frequency template of romantic interaction. Interaction, as I've said in other videos, on all fronts, not just romantic, but in general, interpersonal relationships of all sorts to come from a place of harmony and union and oneness. This is a big reason why twin flames are here on this planet at this point, at this time. And so in order to get to that place, right, which is always you've just forgotten that that's who you are because you've come to have this experience of separation, you have to come back into that place of inner union. And inner union is all about you. It's you and you and you and you and you. And I've been saying this for a long time. This path is about you and you. And I know that drives people crazy as well. And I used to say it to myself, it's just me and me. It's just me and me doing the thing here on this path, me and me. Because the second that you look outside of yourself for those external validations, you know, for any of those sort of externalities, whether they're material, whether they're another person, whether, you know, it's clothes, shopping, you know, another job, all of those things that we are looking outside of us in order to fill that, you know, that gap that we have within, or which sometimes we call loneliness, or we call restlessness, or we call boredom. We have lots of words for that. And so we start looking without us, you know, outside of us, externally, to fill these voids, because we haven't been taught and we don't have the awareness that all of those things that we need are within us. So on that same exact position, the twin is also not outside of you, right? They're not outside of you. Their twin is you, and your physical twin is a representation of an incarnation of your same soul, who is here assisting the one soul, which is you, to shift out of all of the programs and things that I've been talking about. So the main reason that I want to make this video is because I think that we need to be really sort of gentle with ourselves, especially, you know, when we know that we're a twin flame, we know we're going through these processes. We know that we're going through the ascension and the awakening and the dark night and all of those sort of things. And to really just like be bringing that focus and that energy back to the inner world over and over and over again. And to have the awareness that every time I'm sort of focusing outwardly on the physical aspect of the twin, to have this need met, to have this thing validated, to be sure that they're feeling the same thing that I'm feeling, or to be sure that like they know that we're a twin. You know, do you know? Maybe I need to tell them, maybe I need to explain it. Maybe if I explain this better, then they'll understand it this way. You know, maybe if we sit down and communicate through these things, we'll be on the same page. All of these sort of third dimensional constructs that we have and have had in normal partnerships in the past, they don't work with the twin. They don't work with the twin, and they will never work with the twin. And the reason is because the twin is your same soul. And so all of these things that we're sort of wanting to do through that mental capacity, and all of the things, honestly, that we're taught and that we continue to hear through all sorts of avenues nowadays in regard to how relationships work, whether we're talking about, you know, different attachment styles. Oh, well, he has an avoidant attachment style. You know, my twin has an avoidant attachment style, and so therefore that's why they're doing X, Y, Z. Or my twin, she has an anxious attachment style, and so that's why X, Y, and Z is happening within our relationship. And as soon as they heal that, then this will work. Or if they would just see that, you know, that they have this issue, you know, with avoidance, then everything will work out. And so as soon as they do their work, and so we're always sort of pushing outward in regard to this dynamic, because that's what we have been taught, right? That's what we know. You know, you look at any sort of, you know, relationship template, and certainly guidance and advice around romantic relationship templates. And those are the guidelines that we go by, you know, avoidant attachment, anxious attachment, anxious avoidant attachment, you know, disorganized attachment style. Rarely do we talk about secure, once in a while, but not usually. And then we talk about other things like narcissism, you know, we talk about like the dark empath. We have all of these things sort of floating around in the 3D romantic template of interaction, of relationship. These are all fine, like I'm not here to knock these. But what I'm saying is that those templates and those systems, they'll work with a soulmate, potentially they'll work with a karmic, although most karmics are short-lived, and there's a reason for that, which I've talked about in a lot of my videos. And then with other, you know, non-soul family members and things like that you're in relationship with. But with the twin flame, this is not someone outside of you. This is not someone that is not you. This is not a romantic relationship in the third dimension. that you have experienced in the past. So all of those templates that we have been working with through all of our lives in regard to how relationship works do not work with the twin. And this is where, among lots of other things that I'm going to continue to do videos on, and I'm going to create a course on this soon, Twin Flame Union, and how to navigate this whole path, I lost my train of thought. Sorry, guys. So when we're always focusing on all of these other aspects and how they work in other romantic relationships and situations, and when we're trying to figure out how to, put the square peg in the round hole, as I always say, and we're wondering why it doesn't fit, and what's the deal, and, because this is not that. And I think, like I say, this is the biggest thing that keeps twins kind of going round and round, is because when we're starting to look for information, especially in the beginning and in the middle stages, and for however long, right? Like, if there's no judgment, for however long we're looking for information is for however long we're looking, right? Whatever it is, it is. But inevitably, I think we always sort of stumble on those informations, 1111. Inevitably, we always sort of stumble on the information of the normal romantic relationship template. And so we sort of get pulled into that because that's how it works, right? That's how it worked maybe for your best friend, or maybe for your sister, or maybe for whoever, is these other aspects of things, oh, well, they went to therapy and so they worked this thing out, or, he did this thing and so he's worked his stuff out, blah, blah, and all of these sort of things. And so it's really, really, really important to understand that in all of those other dynamics that we sort of look at or go to or compare with is not this dynamic. It's not this dynamic, and it never will be this dynamic. And it's the hardest thing, I think, ever, until you have experienced this, fully experienced this, to have any sort of understanding. And I use that word loosely because that's a mental term. It's not about understanding, it's about experiencing what the twin flame path actually is. And that's why it looks pretty much insane to anybody who's not on it. And that's why I feel that a lot of people think that it's toxic, or that it's limerence, or that it's whatever and whatever. And this is why I talk about, like, incessantly over and over again on my channel, and I always will, is to make sure that you're on a twin flame, to make sure that you are actually on a twin flame journey, and that you are actually a twin flame. If you are sort of, watching any of this content, anybody else's content, make sure that you are actually on this path. Because if you're not, then yeah, it's definitely going to lead you in the wrong direction. Because this path is not going to play out the way a soulmate path plays out. It's not going to play out the way any other romantic interactions would play out in anyone's life. It's not going to, and it's not meant to. And so it can look very crazy from the outside looking in to anyone who is not going through a spiritual awakening that was triggered by their soul. And that's what this is. This is a spiritual awakening that was triggered by your same soul, by your soul, right? And so in the same light as saying that other people aren't going to understand the twin flame dynamic, is the same exact thing of saying other people who are not going through a spiritual awakening are not going to understand what that is. And so if you're over here talking about chakra clearings and, consciousness and higher consciousness and whatever else, and the people around you have no idea what that is because they haven't experienced it, that in the same lens, they will be wondering what in the hell you're talking about. Twin flame dynamic is your spiritual awakening. That's what it is. And your twin flame, who is your same soul incarnate here, was your trigger for that spiritual awakening. So we need to really stay focused on us, right? This is a you and you journey. It's a you and you journey. And the divine masculine is assisting you through this journey, to navigate this journey. All of the triggers that come up, all of the distance that comes up, all the lack of, communication that comes up, all of those things are because your twin flame's higher self, or it's probably better way, you have the same higher self. Better way for me to say that is your spiritual divine masculine, right, is working through your physical masculine to assist you on this path, right? So it's a much better, I think, easier way to potentially see how this dynamic works when we come to the understanding that the physical aspect of you, which is the masculine aspect of you, is actually the spiritual masculine aspect of you that is working through the physical aspect of your masculine to assist you down this road. So in the past, I have said things like, you know, your higher self is guiding this whole thing, and this is true, and the soul is guiding the divine masculine the whole time, so this is true. And I think that we kind of get lost, I think, a lot in the words and in the verbiage of that. And so I think that potentially for some people, it may resonate more. I don't want to say make sense, because this is not a sensical, mind-geared situation, but potentially resonate more or feel more in alignment when we come to the understanding that your soul is both you and your divine masculine, right? The one soul is you and your divine masculine. The spiritual masculine, which is also you, is working through, or we could say the energetic masculine, however we want to say that, whatever works for you, is working through the physical aspect of the masculine to assist you down that path. So one of the things that really helped me on my path was that when I realized all of the things that I was attributing to my physical twin as triggering me, getting under my skin, pushing me away, doing all of that sort of stuff, when I really started to like understand the dynamic of, wait a second, this isn't actually like the physical aspect of my twin being an asshole. This is my spiritual twin acting through the physical incarnation to show me all of the aspects of me that were out of alignment, right? The aspects of me that were not me, that were keeping me from inner union. And the more I focused on the physical aspect of the divine masculine as just like you, and this is your name, and this is what you look like, and this is where you're from, and this is your background, and all of that stuff, I was missing the point of this is actually my divine masculine, my spiritual masculine, working through the physical masculine to assist me. And that helped me a lot, because it helped me sort of drop a lot of the anger that I had when I had that higher awareness of, okay, well, you're talking about this is your soul working through. And for me, in the beginning stages, it just wasn't, it didn't resonate in that same way, because for me, it was just sort of like, that's kind of a vague, it's kind of vague to be like your soul, you know, and I feel a lot of people are that way. It's like, but what is that? You know, what is that actually? When we're talking about our divine masculine and we share the same soul. And so for me, I just had that resonance of, it's my spiritual masculine who is working through my physical masculine to help me down this road. So it's not, as I said before, my physical masculine being a dick or being an asshole. It's actually my spiritual masculine, my higher aspect of my masculine, the highest aspect of my masculine, who is me, who is assisting through the physical, because that's the only way you can do that, right? For me to constantly see that or hear that or visually take that in, he is assisting me to show me all of my blocks through the triggers, you know, through the, you know, lack of communication, whatever it might be. Everybody's situation is different. Some people get ghosted, some people are in separation, physical separation for however long. But when we see that as that is actually my spiritual masculine, that is actually within me, that is assisting me to come out of all of these programs and all of these egoic patterns and all of the separation that is keeping me from me, and that is keeping me paying attention to what my physical masculine is doing. And all the while, that physical masculine is being like, stop paying attention to me, paying attention to you, pay attention to you. So this is a you and you process, and that's why they're always pushing you back to yourself. It's your spiritual masculine doing that through the physical form, right? It's the spiritual masculine, which is you, saying, take it back to you, bring it back to you, stop focusing on me, take it back to you. That's what these triggers are for. That's why people ghost. It's why people go silent. It's why people, don't talk for a long time. It's why you have those triggers and those like interactions of, I just want to be like friends, or I don't know what you're talking about, or I don't feel the same thing. All of that sort of stuff is saying, bring the energy back to you. Bring it back to you. And it's saying, the more you focus outwardly on the external physical manifestation of yourself, of your same soul, and the more that you are looking over there and looking over there, the more that you are pushing your own energy away from you. I talked about this in the last video that I did. You are actually pushing your energy out and you're projecting it onto something else, right? And this is separating you from you. It's a form of abandonment. It's a form of abandoning self. It is that chasing energy. But I need you to complete me. No different than if you go out and you buy a new pair of shoes, or if you buy a new car, or if you buy whatever. I want you to feel, I want this thing to make me feel better, right? And so we're looking at the physical aspect of the masculine to make us feel better, right? It's gonna make me feel better. Well, that's not what this path is about. And so that physical masculine is gonna push back and say, no, you need to feel better on your own. You need to come into self-love. You need to remember who you are. You need to remember that you are already one within, that there's nothing missing from you, that there is no empty space, that there is no void to fill, that there isn't anything external to you that you need to fix, right? There is nothing outside of you. You need to come back to you and come back to you. And this is why they're always doing that. And it's the spiritual masculine that's doing that. Because we have this sense of being like, well, there's my physical masculine, and then there's my, my masculine's higher self, or the masculine that comes to me in dreams, or in telepathy, or in meditation, or in silence, or when we're in separation, and you feel that strong energy come in, and you can feel them. If you're on this path, you can feel them, right? I shouldn't say them, it's not them, it's you. That's your energy. That's your energy. That's your masculine within you. Right? That's you. And it's that reminder of, oh my God, it's always been me. It's always been me. And this is one of the reasons, and I'm going to talk a lot more about this when I make my course. This is one of the reasons that a lot of twins, when they're with their masculine physically, they don't feel that same loving masculine energy as they do when they're in separation from their twin. They don't feel it. It's not the same. And it's sort of like, where'd that energy go? I had that really strong energy in that dream, and I could just feel you, and you were there with me, and I could feel all of that. Or in meditation, or we were communicating telepathically, and it felt so amazing, and it was like so high vibrational, and I remembered who I was and all of those things. But when I'm in my masculine's physical presence, I don't feel that. So deal with that. I don't feel it. A lot of feminines will say this. They don't feel it. Why? Because you slipped back into separation. You've slipped back into a place where you've separated yourself from yourself again. This is what inner union is about. This is why inner union is so crucial on this path, and there's no way to go around it or to do anything. You have to go straight there. It's the only path. It's straight to inner union. And it's what your spiritual masculine is pushing you to do. So that when you are with your physical masculine, your inner world, right, your feminine and masculine within is completely united, which means you are back in full union with God, source, creation, all that is. And when I say feminine, masculine, I'm talking about energy, right? I'm talking about the alchemical process. I'm talking about Heros Gamos. I'm not talking about gender. I'm talking about energy. I'm talking about that oneness within you that is all that is, right? Anyone who has experienced that knows exactly what that feeling is. And as I said, a lot of times, all the time, until that is completely anchored within us and that we are back in the embodiment with that inner union, when we are with our physical twin, it's going to be hard to maintain that balance, right? It's going to be impossible, actually, probably, to maintain that balance until you have become anchored within, until that anchor within has become your embodiment again. It just becomes who you are. You don't have to think about it. It doesn't go through your thought systems anymore. You're not being thrown off course. Your emotions aren't getting completely crazy, all of that sort of thing. When you come into that place, then when you're with your physical masculine, that energy is within you. It's ingrained back within you. You're not throwing it out anymore. It's not separate from you anymore. Not that it ever is separate from you. But we feel that it's separate from us when we're running the third dimensional, egoic mind, patterning, programs, imprints, all that stuff that I keep talking about. And so my point of this video is to make sure that when you're on this path, and at the end of the day, you're going to know if you're a twin flame or not, because you're going to be having all of these energetic processes going on. They're going to be going on. You can't avoid them. They're not going to be elusive to you. You're not going to sort of be well, no. These things are just in your face. Your whole energetic system is going through a complete and utter upgrade. It's off the charts, out of this world. I did some videos on awakening on my old channel, so I'll do another one on this one at some point. But if those things aren't happening, which I keep kind of driving home, then just be, very much in your own discernment around whether or not this is the path that you're actually on. Because this isn't a path that's just oh, it's fun, it's cool, and, once you get to the end of it, sure, once you get into that inner bliss and inner union and inner peace, it's fantastic. It really is. But you don't have to be a twin flame to go that route. Awakening in and of itself also goes in that direction. This is just one of the avenues that awakening takes. But regardless of that, this is a you and you process. It's a you and you process. And the more you're looking outward at externalities, and the more you're looking outward at your physical twin flame to sort of show up for you or do X, Y, Z, or sort of form into this romantic relationship that you would like to have and that you've had in the past, the more that is simply not going to happen. They are going to constantly reflect back to you all the places that you're abandoning yourself in order to chase something, in order to fill a void that you feel within you, that they are showing you is already you. That's what they're showing you. It's already you. It's already you. It's already you. So that's what I have for you guys today. I hope that helps. You guys have an awesome day.